Hello, everyone. Welcome to the No Line podcast. I'm Philip Beere. I'm your host. And today's guest is Christopher Justice. He's the CEO of Pavilion Payments. Chris, welcome.
Hey, thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here with you this morning.
And it's great to watch what Pavilion Payments is doing in regard to responsible gaming. And we're going to get there. But I feel like the more research I do about what you are doing, what your company is doing, that there's a lot of overlap between what you're doing for responsible gaming and what the company stands for, the company values. So with that being said, before we dive into your responsible gaming initiatives, you know, when looking at Pavilion, it feels like everything you're doing is values driven, it's thoughtful. And I know one of your favorite quotes is skate to where the puck is going, not where it is.
Well, and to be perfectly honest, right, that's stolen from Wayne Gretzky. So, but yeah, we are definitely very value driven. We really started off our journey as we broke away from global payments, really looking at it from a I would think a really values driven point of view. First and foremost was really a focus on our associates and making sure that we hired, trained, and recruited the best people that we could get. But then we put programs in that mattered, and that allowed us to win certification for great places to work right out of the gate with the scores that were 30 points ahead of other companies that typically are just getting certified that first year. Because we believe that if we take care of our employees and we really put great associates in the field and really behind all of the things that we do, they're going to take far better care of our customers. And that's one of those areas where if we're taking great care of our customers, which is we look at our customers in two ways. One is the casino operator, and the other is the patron. Because while the casino operator are the ones that typically buy our services, we realize that we have to deliver incredible value to the consumer every day, because it's them that are actually using the services and helping to drive momentum. So we spend a lot of time thinking through delivering a frictionless customer journey, making sure that we're reducing a lot of the steps that it takes to enroll, to play, providing certainty and confidence to everybody along the way. And so kind of the thought process is we take care of our people, people take care of our customers ultimately take care of us. And so it generates a really powerful flywheel to deliver value back to our shareholders. And so we're very excited about the journey that we've been on and how we're going about supporting an industry with a very powerful integrated payments ecosystem.
Yeah, it's almost like you reverse engineer because you even talked before about managing or trying to do everything you can to make sure that the guest experience is good. If the guests are having fun, if they're enjoying their experience, it works backwards. Then the operator is going to be happy, and it's happening because of some of the service and product that you're delivering.
Well, you really hit the nail on the head, because at its core, if you individually will not use the services, then we're all wasting our time. So we do spend an inordinate amount of time having conversations with people like you. What do you like? How was your experience? Are there things that we could do to improve it? If there were some things that we could incorporate into an application or into your consumer journey that would make this a more powerful and rich experience for you, what would they be? And then we work very, very diligently to make sure that we incorporate those things. Because if I can get you and your friends and all of the other consumer demographics that we look at, if we can get people utilizing the services in a safe and responsible way, then we feel like we've done our job. It's really trying
Yeah.
to follow an Amazon model that is right, incredible predictability. When you go online, you can find what you want, you can quickly pay for it, and you can look forward to your journey ending with a happy delivery of whatever the product is. And we're trying to do a lot of the very same thing in a very complex gaming environment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you've mentioned in the past to really make an effort to understand what people expect when they click that button. And something stood out that you said you invested a good year with Apple and Google teams to understand UI and UX. What came out of that?
Well, it's an interesting question, and a lot of things that came out of that were unexpected. Like for example, simple terms is, and this was in and around our mobile cashless solution called VIP Mobility. Our Ernie journey created just button labels, for example, that said deposit and withdrawal. Right? Our assumption would be you would deposit into the casino and you would withdraw back to your financial institution. After we started our research, we found that the majority of consumers looked at it differently. They were going to deposit their winnings back to their financial institution. So what that created is uncertainty when people pushed the button. It added friction because they would wind up going in a spot that wasn't delivering on what they were hoping to achieve. So we were able to unwind and put button labels, and as simplistic as that sounds, it makes a big difference because we're reducing friction. We also found that, for example, with customers, there's a big button that says play. When you would push the play button, that would be how most people would think about play. And that is exactly what the research found. However, about 37% of the consumers also thought that the way that they would put money on their favorite game was to touch the balance button. So what we did is we configured the balance button and the play button to deliver the same result, so that no matter how you think about play, we want to deliver the experience that you're expecting. And so it's a number of things like that don't sound all that big on the surface, but when you're talking about reducing friction, improving the customer journey, making things fast, efficient, in a more pleasant experience for the guest, those are all little nuances that we felt were just really important to the launch of the product.
And so were there changes made to the wording of deposit and withdrawal? And if there were, what changed?
Right. So now those are really moving money in and money out. So we tried to make sure that we were looking at the wording that was different than how we were before. And so we tried a bunch of different iterations to come up with the ones that would yield consumer research where everybody was going to the right spot on the first button click. And then we also made sure that when you get to those points, that there's not a lot of extemporaneous information. It's really simplifying the user experience down to very few words, but very descriptive to really drive somebody, down a path that they're expecting.
Yeah, it's always a challenge to distill complex behavior or even a complex thought and make it simple. And it becomes kind of a test, I guess, trial and error to find out what works until you find that one kind of magical solution.
Yeah, we think it's a lot of this is around as well consistency, because if you think back to your grandparents used to have a Gimbel's card, a Woolworth's card, Sears, etc. Because each and every store felt that everything that they did was unique and it needed to be different than their competitors. But fast forward to today, none of those companies exist. None of those cards exist because The common consumer wants consistency, right? I might have a Nordstrom's Visa, but it's a Visa. It works the same wherever Visa is accepted. And we believe that when we looked at VIP mobility, that a consistent consumer journey across all properties was going to be critical to driving adoption. Because if my process of utilizing a cashless solution is different at casino A than it is casino B and different than casino C, I'm not going to have the desire to learn all of those different processes and get into a consistent flow like I have when I use my money everywhere else on the planet. So we've really worked very, very hard to create that trust platform that delivers consistency and efficiency across all of our customers.
Yeah, I think you're right. You know, the topic of cashless, like you said, across the planet, it comes down to cultural, maybe, because you look at Japan, they're still a very cash-driven society culturally. And then you look at other places when I'm traveling through Asia, even when I go to buy something, a street vendor selling fruit, I can make a cashless payment with my phone. But there's almost another subculture, and those are the guests who come to the casino and what they're familiar with and how they're comfortable.
Oh, absolutely, without a doubt. And I think that is part of what cashless can deliver to a casino environment is an improved feeling of safety and security. And there are a number of consumer examples that we've gathered over time for people that just feel safer. They can enter the casino with no money in their pocket. With the touch of a button, they can deliver the money that they need to the casino. They can play to their heart's content, and they can then move their winnings back to one of their payment mechanisms and leave the casino with no money in their pocket. It delivers a better amount of anonymous activity so that with my jackpot, I don't have somebody unstrapping hundreds and making a big show of getting my payout, so that then I'm feeling even more vulnerable to the people who are now gathered around behind me to walk out of the casino. I can have slot operations come over and actually deliver that money electronically, and nobody has to know. So I get that great euphoric feeling. I get a very fast payout. I get the excitement of everything that a jackpot means, but I don't get the negative consequences of feeling vulnerable because now I've got all the cash in my pocket.
Yeah, I think what you're describing too is there's a certain element of empathy. You're trying to feel what the payout, the person receiving the payout, some of the fears that go through their head once they attract all that attention, if they accept it in cash.
Absolutely. It goes from a moment of joy to a moment of concern. And
maybe even right? Fear.
And when we're talking about gaming entertainment, right, the entertainment part should continue, and we need to deliver solutions to the guests to allow them to eliminate those areas of concern, because we've done the things necessary to remove those obstacles.
Chris, you've mentioned in the past that value drives adoption. Can you unpack that a little bit? How do you add value?
Well, we add value by giving you the things that you want to help drive your customer journey. I think it's about meeting you where you are and delivering the things that you want. And when I say you, I mean you as a consumer, and I mean that truly to the core. And we have said this to a variety of our casino customers, and I don't know how well they appreciate it, but the intention is, right at the moment, I really don't care what they think, because the only one that matters is the consumer. Because as I said earlier, if you're not going to use it, we're all wasting our time. So we need to make sure that these things are powerful for you. And so the idea that there are things that the casino wants, and I get that those things are incredibly important, but I think those things come after delivering value to you as the player. So, what do you want as a player? You want certainty, efficiency, control, and convenience when it comes to gameplay. So, I want to be able to push a button. I want to be able to move money to my game. I want to have certainty that I know where my money is, that my game is funded correctly, that everything is working the way it should, right? That is kind of a core opportunity. The other things in terms of like how your points are calculated, you've already got a system in place that's doing those kinds of activities in a way that you're comfortable with. But are there other things that I would say more boil the ocean, because there's a lot of ways to deliver value to a consumer, but we've also got to do that in a way that doesn't create so much change that then you just get lost in the complexity of it. It's almost like when Microsoft Windows or Microsoft Office changed all of the menus inside of the platform. So now the things that you once knew where they were, now you don't. It gets to be confusing, and you've got that long adoption curve. When in the casino space, right, I'm here for entertainment. I want to play now. I don't want to go through and figure out a system or go through some long enrollment process. I want to play now, right? I'm able to play now in the old way. I want to play now in the new way, and I want that to be fast and efficient.
Yeah, so when you meet with an operator, is there sometimes a little bit of a friction, meaning you're saying we must drive changes, cashless, from the guest experience, but then the operator has what they perceive as a priority in the way it should be. Is there sometimes a little bit of friction there about saying we need to adjust to the operator to adopt to what the guest wants?
Well, there certainly can be. I think, we try to bring a lot of consumer research to the table as well that does point to what people want, what their spending patterns are, and we believe there's a way that we can help the operator skate to where the puck is going, because if we are skating in alignment with the consumer trends, we will be in lockstep with the consumer and delivering value to the guest. And so we try to bring that to the table. So it's not that the other things aren't important. It's just we believe that there is a priority in a sequencing that could be more proper, and that if I add a couple of things to an app, then the guest will learn those couple of things and they will continue to grow and build. Let me just maybe give you a different example in the real world. We all want an Amazon.com experience in the casino space, right? I want you to be able to go to my app, book a hotel. I want you to book your restaurant reservations, look at your points, play, all of those things. But what we forget is Amazon spent 30 years and billions of dollars to deliver the experience that they have today. And if we were to come out with a casino experience that is the Big Bang theory of all things to all people, one, we're unlikely to get there with the budgets that people have to spend. Second, it's going to be an incredibly clunky experience because it's really difficult to build all of those things at once. And then third, I think there's going to be such overwhelming change management for the typical consumer, they're just not going to adopt it. So we've got to get them in with the most important things to the consumer. Once we get them in and build value and build utilization, we can start layering on those additional capabilities that drive meaningful P&L value to the casino as well. Which, by the way, cashless right out of the gate without any of those things delivers meaningful value and return on investment for the casino operator.
Yeah, when you put it that way about Amazon, it's been 30 years of evolution for them. Cashless is kind of an infancy related when you compare it to 30 years of Amazon. Still learning, still ironing out some kinks, still improving.
Oh, well, exactly. And that's also part of the reason to start first with the most important aspects that the guest is looking to deliver, because that minimizes the number of activities that have to be tweaked in order to deliver an incredible experience.
Yeah, you talk about the incredible experience. And I think this is where we can segue to Pavilion's commitment to responsible gaming. And recently, you committed to supporting Dr. Wohl's research about preemptive limit setting tools. Can you share a little more detail about what's behind that, why you're committed to this research in particular, and why you feel it's good for the industry?
Certainly. Well, it's this research is just the latest step that we've made. We've done a variety of research in this area because we feel that it's kind of the core responsibility of everybody within the industry's ecosystem. Pavilion just wants to lead the way in our areas because we believe it's really crucial to understand excuse me, we feel it's really crucial to understand what really makes people tick instead of assuming everybody's the same. So by digging deep into the reasons behind behaviors, we're working to create tools and systems that can help players set and maintain personal guardrails to promote responsible gaming. The doctor's research is looking into whether spending limits established prior to gambling are better at attacking the problem gambling triggers than introducing something that is occurring after play begins. And the reason we're going down the path with the research in its present form is we spent time talking to the researchers. We spent time really trying to understand people who live this every day. What are the areas of research that we should start with? And so this was the one that we chose. And we feel that our involvement is all about finding better ways for the gaming industry to be able to use responsible gambling tools.
Yeah, you also have a feature, it's called a cooling off period, and you have a voluntary self-exclusion. How do those work?
Well, so really self-exclusion, and this is, I think there's just a bundle of solutions here. Self-exclusion has been around for a while. And that's where I say I have a problem. And if that's the case, right, we're going to believe the guest and we're going to help them move down a path of stopping or limiting their ability. And at least from our perspective, the things that we can do are cut off access to their financial accounts so they can't fund. It's going to create a barrier that allows that guest to impose, I don't want to play anymore, don't allow me to fund, and they could do that. Likewise, we also enable customized personal limits. That's an area whereby just because your bank or your credit card gives you some outrageous limit because you're a high wealth individual, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the amount that you want to play. So we'll allow customers to reduce that limit to something that they feel is more appropriate. And once they set those limits are in place until they go through a process to change that. Likewise, there's also an opportunity whereby whether a regulator or an operator sees certain challenges with certain individuals, for them to be excluded as well. So we have all of those capabilities that have been built into the system. When it comes to other things like cooling off periods, there's a variety of research that we've done with like the UNLV collaborative on cashless's impact on responsible gaming, where we're continuing to gather information to find out what else should we be doing to allow and give the player the ability to establish proper guidelines or guardrails to promote responsible play.
Yeah, Castro's been on the podcast from UNLV, and it seems like payment providers within their data really is the answer to how successful a lot of responsible gaming programs can be, and it really probably holds the key to the future of success for responsible gaming.
I couldn't agree more. Payments data, where payments and data really play a crucial role in promoting responsible gaming. And technology, more than anything, really allows a more effective way to track and analyze behavior over time. So by leveraging data and data analytics, we can detect potential signs of problem gambling. We can monitor and be able to provide detailed insights back to the player, to help them go ahead and maybe make better decisions. But it also allows us to really pinpoint and detect patterns that we couldn't before in today's really paper-based environment. So, but one thing we're finding that I think is maybe left out of the conversation is it's really important to note that we need to have a full view of the consumer's behavior. Otherwise, we can certainly make some false impressions. Because if we're only looking, for example, at a small fraction of what's going on, where a consumer is making small deposits but making big withdrawals, the immediate impression would be, well, this player's a winner. But yet without the other half, whereby other funding methods could be used, other things that we don't see or don't track electronically, there could be a completely different view. It's almost the iceberg analogy. What you see is only 20% of the entirety of the picture. And if we're making our decisions based on the 20%, we're going to be wrong. And so we believe that that employing the technology does help us to develop the tools and help us to develop better understanding, that over time we will figure out how can we do a better job of, I don't know if intervening is the right word, but at least making people aware of what we're seeing, and then allowing them to make their own decisions. From there, does that go? What happens with that data, and what other steps should we take? I don't think we're far enough along in our journey, and I'm saying our collective journey as an industry, to really understand what do we do with the data once we have something that's better than what we've had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think throughout this conversation, it's clear for Pavilion Payments that it's about the guest experience, and that responsible gaming is a big part of the guest experience, and that answers why you're committed to this. But I think there's more to it, I'm assuming. Is there more to the why? Why is everywhere I look, I feel like there's a new news about Pavilion being committed to responsible gaming. Is there more to it?
Well, I think it's just, we feel it's incumbent on the entirety of the industry to create a safe environment for all participants. And we need to do the best job that we can, and we're trying to put our best foot forward in figuring that out. I mean, to use an analogy with like the wine and spirits industry, they do a lot in terms of self-regulating their advertising. They put programs out there to promote, or to at least, right, we're not going to drive drunk. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. The industry does a lot to promote those kinds of activities, and yet they've got a similar challenge to the gaming industry, whereby Anheuser-Busch and the rest of the manufacturers have no idea really who we are as individuals. And in today's cash-based environment, it's pretty much the same. There's certain ways we can detect certain activities but we can't detect everything. So we're doing the best we can with what we have. And our approach is trying to figure out how can we leverage technology to just take that to another level, to do a better job, and to be able to help really create a much more safe and healthy environment for everybody.
You know, in business, we talked about how you reverse engineer. You start with the guest and then work kind of backwards. And you talk about even in your organization where you're values driven. If you were to work backwards with responsible gaming, is there something that you're seeing on the when you're kind of analyze everything and you hear a lot of buzz and chatter about responsible gaming? Is there something we're missing? Do you feel like there's something even in your gut that you think, if we did this, it could be even better?
That's a good question. I think the industry's done the best that it can with what it has. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, this is a paper-based industry. In fact, one of the last paper-based industries in the world. Everything has gone electronic. In fact, when you go through and look at the amount of money spent during the holiday season, 60% of spending was done on a mobile device just this past year. Trillions of dollars, hundreds of millions of mobile users. It's the way of the world. We all use that everywhere else in our lives, with the exception of the casino space. But yet, you've got to deal with, right? We have to start with where we are, use what we've got, do the best we can. So cash-based environment, primarily the way most responsible gaming things work today is painting everybody with the same broad brush of friction. And let me just use an example. And this example has changed, but even in Nevada, up until I think call it 2 years ago, you couldn't deposit more than $1,000 a day from a debit account into your wagering account, which, if you're a high wealth individual, somebody that's playing, I mean, some of these folks play more than $1,000 in a hand of cards. So we're not limiting anything for those people flying in on their private plane, but yet that same $1,000 a day limit is going to bankrupt your typical fast food worker. So that broad brush of friction, I think, makes us feel good, but I don't think it necessarily delivers the intentions of what we're trying to accomplish. And the only way we can accomplish what we want is to take a look at the individual and at the individual's needs. And so that's where we're trying to make sure that the research that we're doing and the tools that we put in place are more targeted to the individual so that they can establish their own frameworks, they can manage their own play, and hopefully be more responsible.
Great. Chris, as we kind of come to the tail end here, what are some things as we kind of push forward in responsible gaming, and what are some things you've seen in the last, say, couple years that you feel really good about? That we're making progress, that strides are being made?
Well, I think that the things I feel really good about are the steps that we've taken from a technology perspective to do a better job of tracking. I think we're doing a better job of promoting responsible gaming across all channels. I think when you look at, frankly, I think sports betting even helps that, because on the whether it's the AGAs have a game plan program that's been adopted by a lot of the professional leagues, the sports betting advertising, they're all talking about responsible gaming. I mean, of course, yes, come in and participate, but come in and participate responsibly. Have a plan, have a budget, establish a way to play within your means. I think all of that is fantastic. And so I even look at it as sports betting expands across the U.S. I think that's really good for America. And the reason for that is the people that are currently gambling in those states are gambling in a black market in an environment where nobody is promoting responsible gaming. None of the tools are being deployed to create a safe environment. And I think our industry is doing an amazing job of helping to propagate that as the industry grows across the country.
Final thing here, really two things. For vendors listening to this interview right now, and they're curious, they see what you're doing, what Pavilion's doing for responsible gaming, they want to get involved. One, how would you recommend, what would you tell them to get involved or take the first step? And two, what are some good things that you're seeing from your commitment to responsible gaming? Maybe even within your company, maybe it's a source of pride for your associates. Can you kind of unwrap that a bit?
Certainly. So I think there's certainly a number of ways for folks to get involved. The ICGRA, is certainly a great group to help drive research. UNLV is doing a lot of research in this area. I think it's an area where engaging the American Gaming Association, right, to start having more open dialogue about people and what they want to contribute and how they want to join the Have a Game Plan program. I think all of that stuff is super important. Frankly, if somebody wants to get started, I mean, I'm happy to share insights and take that conversation offline. So lots of good stuff there. And then I think to the other part of your question, it's just one of the things that we're dedicating to supporting. I think addiction in all forms, alcohol, drugs, gambling, et cetera, there's almost nobody that's unaffected by some form of addiction. And, while we don't have a way to necessarily help with everything, the one thing that we do as a business is an ability to help contribute to an addiction that we've got the ability to help solve. And I am very proud of the work that the Pavilion team has done in this regard. And I think it's just a thing that we can all hold our head high and be very proud and enthusiastic about the work that we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Very good, Chris. Thank you. Thank you for your time today.
Absolutely. I really appreciate you having me on. It's great to talk to you this morning.
Thank you.